could you just please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would Reverend William Crothers come forward and give us our invocation, please?
Let us pray. Father, as we come before you right now, we are so thankful for the mercies that you always pour out upon us, and we think of the beautiful day that it was and just, again, rejoice in that. Lord, we think of those that have so faithfully served the city these last few days and the tragedies, and we just thank you for their faithfulness and their work, and just pray your blessings upon them and always keep them safe. Be now with this council and the city as it meets. Just allow your spirit to move, and that wisdom and fairness and no partiality would reign, and that you would be honored in all the proceedings that take place. We thank you now for your mercies and ask what we do in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Gavarrecki.
Present.
Councilman Templin.
Present.
Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman Hayes.
Present.
Councilman DeGiulio. Here. Councilman Keenan.
Present.
Treasurer Armstrong.
Present.
And Mayor Mategas.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you very much. Ask for a motion for corrections and approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Templin, supported by Councilwoman Gavarrecki. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Once again, I find myself having to mention that the report of the administrator is blatantly absent from this agenda, and this was a promise made us by Ms. Parker that there would be a regular administrator report, and once again, there's none. Secondly, for the second meeting in a row, I sent a request to have a resolution placed on this agenda for the removal of Ms. Parker pursuant to Act 436, which is our absolute right under the statute, to ask that she be relieved of her duties once the 18-month period or the period of time of her appointment was up. And I, again, had that refused, presumably by her, and I think that's a violation. I'd like a ruling from council as to that basis for overturning my request to have that resolution heard before this body and voted on.
No, I'm not prepared to answer that tonight.
We have, Councilman, well, tomorrow night we have another meeting, ladies and gentlemen, and it is, we all hope to get the transitioning information. The appointment is until September 29th. The EM has ruled on our agenda, so I think we're not going to see those changes tonight. Your comments are noted, Councilman, and if there are no other
I just want to make mention that I don't accept the fact that her appointment is till the 29th. As I read the statute, she was appointed under the new act, and if she were serving under the old act, Section 10 of the pertinent part says that her appointment continues as if she were appointed under Act 36, notwithstanding the fact that she was appointed under Act 72. So I argue that that's an error, but I understand your position, Mr. Mayor, and I accept your ruling. Thank you.
All in favor of the agenda, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 22nd. Motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Keenan is moved. Mr. Hayes is supported. Is there any discussion? I hear none. I will ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That is carried. We're going to start citizens' comments on agenda items. It will be for 3 minutes, and I will read our rules of decorum for all of us tonight. Individual may only speak on an issue after the individual has been recognized by the chairperson. Comments from the floor shall be made at the podium, at the front of the council table, or such areas as designated by the chairperson. Prior to an individual speaking from the floor, the individual shall identify themselves and state their address for the record, which we are using just as their street. The individual shall also identify if they are representing any group or organization. All comments shall be directed only to the chairperson. Speakers are not to address other members of the council or members of the audience. The members of the public may speak for up to 3 minutes on agenda items and at the end of the meeting for 5 minutes, where they may also ask questions. All written statements should be given to the city clerk prior to the meeting so that copies may be made available to members of the public body. No individual shall be allowed to make any defamatory attack or invasion of another's individual's personal life. There shall be no questions, comments, discussions, or attacks regarding anybody's personal life. The chairperson shall immediately rule out of order any person who brings up such issues. If the chairperson does not do so, any member of the council may, by calling for a point of order, request the chairperson to rule the offending party out of order. If the chairperson does not so rule, the council member may call for an appeal of the decision. If the chairperson's decision is overturned, the offending person shall be deemed being out of order. If the person making the comments is allowed to continue, the person being challenged or whom the comments are made against shall be entitled to make an immediate rebuttal statement. For purposes of these rules, as they relate to elected officials or city officials, the term personal life shall refer to anything other than that which is said or done in the person's official capacity as an elected official or in the person's official city capacity. Members of the public body may question the speakers, but the members of the public body are not obligated to answer any questions or make any statements on the issues raised or discussed by the speaker. And issues can be referred to the appropriate body, department, or individual for investigation and review. No person or group shall be allowed to disrupt the meetings or proceedings. Any individual who fails to comply with these rules after having first been warned by the chairperson to cease such actions shall be ordered by the chairperson to leave and or be ejected from the meeting. Having read those rules, I ask any citizens that want to comment on the agenda items to come forward to speak. We've got a big agenda, and I don't see anyone coming forward, so I'm going to move.
Through the chair, Mr. Mayor, I would like to point out one mistake of mine on the agenda, and that's at the very bottom. It says the next council meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 11th. That should actually say Tuesday, October 14th. I apologize, I was looking at the month of November. So our next meeting will be October 14th.
Next regular meeting, right?
Next
There's a meeting
regular.
tomorrow.
We do have a special meeting tomorrow for the brownfield and the transition at 5. But
Thank you, Mr.
thank you, I
Mizzi.
just wanted to make that correction.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mizzi. We're going to have a presentation tonight. As we all know, in September 11th, there was a fire, and there was a person who lost their life at the home, and the update will be given by the director of the Leo Police Home, Andrew Hill, and our fire chief, Chief LaFond. I would just say I was at the commission meeting yesterday. There's been no determination of the cause of the fire, so I think we're not going to hear about that tonight. That investigation is still being done by the Downriver Mutual Aid Arson Squad, and they have sent certain things out for testing and that. So you won't see that as a presentation tonight. I'm sorry we don't have those answers, but they are doing their job and exercising their due diligence in doing that. So with that, I think Director Hill is going to speak to us first tonight. Am I correct?
Good evening. If I could first, I just want to make one correction. The fire was Monday, the 15th of September. And Chief LaFond and I very shortly will be able to, once we get that information about the cause of the fire, be able to release that to you publicly. I was first notified of the fire at the Leo Paluch Senior Apartments, 17,000 Champaign, shortly after 5 a.m. on Monday morning. As I approached Champaign, traveling south, I saw smoke coming across the road in front of me before I turned onto May Street, and immediately I recognized that we were talking about a severe catastrophe, other than what I was hoping was just a small kitchen fire, or maybe even somebody burning something on the stove that caused smoke to come out in the hallway. And I was praying that it was a mistake and that we weren't going to be facing what I knew at that point was a serious issue. Turning onto May Street, I was able to contact both of our 24-hour call maintenance people, and they were answering their phones and on their way, and they both live close by. I entered the building off of May Street by the library, which I normally do, and as I entered the hallway, I saw Chief LaFond already on the scene, traveling down the first floor wing on May Street, attempting to evacuate as many people as he possibly could by knocking on doors and alerting people and just making sure that they were out of the apartments. I continued down the east wing, and there was some light smoke at the end of the hallway, which I assume was the origin of the fire on the main floor, and began evacuating anybody remaining in the building. A lot of people were already in the hallways, alarms were sounding. I escorted some people out of the building and over to the library and directed them to the library, and I was able to retrieve 2 additional people who did not have their hearing aids in and help evacuate them. When I became, the smoke became much deeper in the hallway, a much darker color, black, instead of the white smoke, which I'm assuming was as they were putting out the fire, which I had no idea at that point where it was causing the smoke then to pick up its pace. I was able to stop in our maintenance office, retrieve an additional copy. There's several copies of our emergency evacuation plans. My employees are instructed to keep them in their vehicles because they would be driving to the building. They're also directed to have copies in my office and directed to have copies in the maintenance room, which is at the back of the building. So someplace and somewhere we can retrieve these documents and begin implementing the evacuation plan. Don Estheimer, David Glenn, both of our maintenance employees, by the way, are both ex-military, which really came to our advantage that day. They were already on the scene as I was evacuating the building. One of them began escorting tenants to the library, which we had keys for the library as a stationary place where we could account for people and get information to people and get information to families and have our tenants have a safe place in the weather. Not knowing what the weather was going to be, we needed them in a building. The other maintenance person escorted me on the outside of the building at this point to begin to talk to tenants who were on the second floor and to direct the fire department to which unit is which unit. From the outside of the building, apartment 38 or 39 or 40 doesn't mean anything because there's no addresses on the outside of the building. And we have debated this for security reasons. We don't want to identify apartments for any problems on the outside of the building. So we were able to direct the fire departments to very specific windows to retrieve specific people that were unaccounted for. Quickly, the emergency plan was put into place, and we began the process of accounting for people that so we could assist the fire department. Within the first 4 to 7 minutes, we had ID'd all but 6 tenants. Jennifer Ashton, our administrative assistant, was on the scene and was able, with her emergency book, to begin calling family members of the 6 remaining tenants to identify whether they were ever in the building in the first place and where they were, if they were at the hospital, were they spending the night at their kid's house. And we were able to remove an additional 3 people from our list who were at their family's house and not in the building at all. The plan that we have modified and been working on for some 7 years was implemented as planned. The tenants evacuated the building and they were directed by their tenant handbook to go directly to the Allen Park Library to register with the Housing Commission staff so that we could isolate who was not at the library. 7 fire departments did all that they could do, Doug, and we're forever grateful for the work that they did that day. A new tenant was in the library. She moved in a few months ago, and I had just a moment to ask her and her son how she was doing. And she said she was doing fine, which was nice to hear in an emergency situation, that she was calm. And she said shortly after moving into the building that her and her son practice the evacuation drill. And it was written in the tenant handbook. They practice what door to evacuate from, where to go, and what door at the library. So she said she had already done this about a week ago. So that was good to hear. We can share what we do know, and that is the fact that the fire was not related to any electrical failure or equipment or outlets owned by the Allen Park Housing Commission. We do know that the fire is not related to any stove or any item cooked in the oven or on the stove. We do know that a single item has been isolated that was tenant-owned as the likely cause of the fire. We do know that the unit that was caught on fire was a non-smoking unit, meaning the individual had no permission or authority to smoke in that unit. You do now know, and we know that it is under investigation, and the chief and I cannot comment any further on the issues, but a report will be issued to the public as soon as we have the final report. Air quality checks, structural checks of the property, gas checks, electrical checks, and 7 directives by the Allen Park Fire Department and the Chief Building Department, David Boomer, were completed by Friday in order to allow residents back in the building. I'd like to bring to your attention that none of these checks, including a damaged piping wrap that was later checked and cleared for asbestos, were ever completed before my staff and myself were in the building assisting in the evacuation, and upon entering the building immediately after the fire to retrieve identification, eyeglasses, medicine, dentures, hearing aids, and pets for every single resident. We do know that the deceased left her apartment, went next door, knocked on one of the neighbors' door in an attempt to alert them of the fire. We do know that she passed the staircase exit on at least 2 occasions and was found in the hallway on the 2nd floor. We do know that she was removed and emergency aid was provided in CPR. We do not believe she was able to be brought back. With the exception of the 1 fatality, all of the tenants and their pets were evacuated without incident. This was a major fire and not a single person was burnt. There was no residual heart attacks, strokes, or any other ailments after the fire, which we had planned for in our emergency evacuation with the age and the disability of our tenants. No fire personnel were injured, and there's a lot to be said for 7 independent agencies working together in an early morning fire, and to have all of them safe means a lot to all of us. No member of my staff suffered any injury during the evacuation or the work after the evacuation. We thank God for his guidance that we received that morning, that the decisions that we made were the correct decisions, and that the plan was implemented. You can have plans and you can have things on writing, but at 5 in the morning, when there's an emergency situation, it's nice to know that however we receive guidance, the correct guidance in the plan was implemented. The Allen Park Housing Commission manages 61 units. I'm pleased to announce after this tragedy, 42 units were open for occupancy within 4 days after the fire. Friday at 6 p.m. we opened the building. 3 units were opened yesterday, and an additional 6 units will be open throughout the next 10 days. 2 additional units will be open within the next 14 days, and the remaining 8 units have a construction plan of no more than 6 months. The time delay for the remaining units is caused by the need to completely remove the roof and rebuild the roof. 16 tenants of the 61 units had renter's insurance. Some of these tenants were completely wiped out by the disaster. They lost everything that they owned. For those interested in assisting our seniors, there's been a charitable account set up at PNC on Southfield and Allen Road titled Allen Park Housing Commission Emergency Fund, or APHC Emergency Fund. A committee will be established very shortly. The Housing Commission is writing a policy for the committee to follow, and they will distribute the funds to those in need in a very efficient manner. The accounting of this fund will be available for public disclosure. Many residents will need clothing, bedding, furniture, food, and furniture. The best way for anyone to help, if interested, is to drop off a donation by check or money order to PNC on Southfield and Allen Road, so that these funds can be accounted for, they can be categorized, and the funds can be distributed in an orderly fashion based on each tenant's specific needs. I want to thank in this body, specifically the mayor who was representing the entire city body, for his commitment for full support in the rebuilding in the aftermath of the emergency. Many of the council members were there, and we're forever grateful for your help, and my tenants appreciate that very much. I want to thank everybody for their calls, their cards, their donations, and their prayers. This is why I call Allen Park home. So I appreciate that, and Mr. LaFond will have some words to say about the fire evacuation.
Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to go off of a prepared statement, basically, just so I make sure I don't miss anything. I'm here to update on the fire that occurred on 9/15/2014 at Leo Plouche Senior Housing facility located at 17,000 Champaign here in our city of Allen Park. The Allen Park Fire Department received a call from dispatch at exactly 5 a.m. Stating that a smoke detector was sounding at 17,000 Champaign. Our units immediately responded, arriving on scene at 5:05 a.m. En route to the scene, dispatch contacted the officer in charge and informed him that they had many additional calls. Upon arrival, the officer in charge called me, the deputy chief, 6 additional off-duty firefighters. He also called for mutual aid from Lincoln Park, Taylor, Southgate, and Dearborn. Fire conditions on arrival were intense. There was heavy fire and smoke showing from a second-story window on the south end of the building. Our 5-man fire crew began advancing a hose line into the building while simultaneously connecting to a fire hydrant, performing ladder rescues from the second floor, and forming an evacuation game plan. Due to limited manpower, multiple operations were performed by single personnel, including the initial attack. I arrived on scene about 3 minutes later, because I was already up and on the road at that time in the morning. I entered the building and began knocking on doors and instructing people to evacuate. All the fire alarms were sounding and all the lighting and exit signs were illuminated. After covering the first floor, which contained light smoke, I proceeded to the second floor where I attempted to enter the hallway through the door at the top of the stairs. Smoke conditions were so heavy that I was not able to proceed without an SCBA, so I retreated to the parking lot where I asked for a 5th and 6th alarm, which included the cities of Dearborn Heights and Wyandotte. I also asked for 4 ambulances from various private ambulance companies because of the what we knew was a very immobile group of people that lived there, and I was fearing the worst at that time. Our priority throughout this incident was life safety. Our goal was to ensure that every single occupant was evacuated. As units arrived from the different departments, they were immediately given assignments, most of which were to perform ground ladder rescues of residents from the second-story windows. These residents had sheltered in place as instructed after the installation of the new fire doors a few years ago. The smoke conditions on the second floor did not allow the residents to evacuate using hallways or stairwells. This condition was something that was anticipated and was something that we anticipated would happen in a building of this age and construction type. Mr. Hill came to me a few years ago when he was awarded a federal stimulus grant and asked me what would give him the most bang for the buck when it came to fire safety improvements. I told him the upgrade to 2-hour doors in every apartment would be a great investment. This decision transformed each apartment into a 2-hour smoke and fireproof enclosure. In the subsequent years, Mr. Hill also made extensive improvements to the smoke detectors, fire alarm system, exit signs, emergency lighting, and fire extinguishers. Many of these improvements, including the fire doors, were not required by code because of the age of the building, and were done voluntarily to improve fire safety. The resident who succumbed to her injuries was discovered in the hallway outside of her apartment by Allen Park Fire Department personnel and was immediately carried from the building where CPR was initiated. The Wyandotte Fire Department transported the victim via ALS ambulance to Oakwood Hospital in Dearborn. After interviews with occupants of the neighboring apartment, it was discovered that the victim had warned other residents of the fire before attempting to exit the building. While the rescues were taking place, firefighters were able to bring the fire under control. Overall, and mop-up operations continued until complete extinguishment was obtained. While the complete fire investigation is ongoing, I can give some preliminary information on the origin and cause of the fire. The origin was the living room of apartment number 59, which was the home of the victim. The building's wiring, as well as other building systems, have been ruled out as the cause of the fire by the Downriver Fire Investigation Task Force, our fire marshal, and an electrical engineer. In the area of origin, the investigators found the remains of a home oxygen generator owned by the deceased. This home oxygen generator has been sent to a certified electrical engineer who will completely examine it and give us a determination as to whether or not it was faulty or used improperly. It will take some time for our fire marshal, with assistance from the task force, to make the final call on the cause of the fire. They will explore every avenue to ensure the accuracy of their report. This team is one of the most respected in the state, and I have every confidence in their ability to complete their task. The following agencies provided the listed manpower and equipment to our incident. From the Allen Park Fire Department, we had 5 on-duty personnel, 5 personnel called in, plus myself, the deputy chief, and we responded with an engine, a ladder, and 2 ambulances. The Lincoln Park Fire Department provided 5 firefighters, 1 engine, and 1 ladder truck. The Dearborn Fire Department provided 5 firefighters, an engine, an ambulance, and 1 battalion chief. The Taylor Fire Department provided 10 firefighters, 1 engine, 1 ladder, 1 battalion chief, 1 deputy chief, 1 fire chief, and their fire marshal. The Dearborn Heights Fire Department provided 7 firefighters, 1 engine, 1 ambulance, deputy chief, and fire chief. The Southgate Fire Department provided 8 firefighters, 1 engine, 1 ladder truck, and 1 rescue. The Wyandotte Fire Department provided 4 firefighters, 1 engine, 1 ambulance, and their fire chief. HealthLink and Community EMS provided 12 EMTs and/or paramedics and 6 ambulances. And the Downriver Fire Investigation Task Force responded with 4 members in their arson investigation vehicle. All of these agencies work flawlessly together with a common goal: keep casualties to a minimum and protect the lives and property to the best of our ability. I will be sending letters to each department thanking them for their assistance. Mr. Hill and his team should also be commended for their efforts on that day. They are all true professionals. Their compassion and love for the residents of Palouse was obvious to everyone involved. I am very proud of the work that was performed by everyone on that scene that day. Various members of the Allen Park Fire Department will receive awards for acts of heroism and bravery for their actions. Responding to a fire of this magnitude, with this many trapped elderly residents, is one of the most stressful things imaginable to a firefighter. I can't say enough about every firefighter on the scene that day. It makes me proud to be a member of the Allen Park Fire Department. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from Kyle? I think our presentation is concluded. Thank you, Mr. Hill. Thank you, Chief. Next item on the agenda is I would ask our Mayor Lally to come forward as the President-elect of Kiwanis, and I'd like to do a presentation at this time. Kiwanis Club celebrates 75 years October 4th, 2014. A proclamation. Whereas Kiwanis Club is the oldest and largest service organization in Allen Park, and whereas Kiwanis Club is the second largest service organization in the United States. Whereas Kiwanis Club is to be commended for their unstinting charitable efforts, particularly for those on behalf of children, not only in Allen Park, but throughout the world. They have been good corporate citizens, and its members, wonderful stewards of our city. Would also like to take this time to congratulate the Kiwanis Club for servicing the Allen Park community for 75 years. Their ongoing contribution plays a key role in promoting and ensuring a brighter, stronger future for our community. Now therefore, I, William B. Matakis, Mayor of Allen Park, do hereby proclaim October 4th, 2014, the 75th anniversary of the Kiwanis Club as Allen Park Kiwanis Day in the city of Allen Park.
Thank you very much. I just want to say a couple things. Just a couple things. We are having a dedication to the park. As you know, the Duda Park. We are redoing that park due to the one of the members that passed away left money to the Kiwanis, and we had the availability to do that for handicap accessible kids. And it's open to the public. There will be a ribbon cutting on October the 4th at 5 p.m. I invite all you the mayor and all the members to come to the ribbon cutting. And afterwards, we're going over to Silver Spoons for dinner. So you're welcome to come. Everybody's welcome. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you. Fran Bavage has some invitations if you need them. I should also say the park they're redoing there on Park Avenue to make it handicap accessible, they are spending $190,000 on that park.
Wow.
Now, Allen Park Festivities Commission Chairwoman Cynthia, can't hear me, I'm sorry. Second item that I have is Allen Park Festivities Commission. Cynthia Riviera is going to come forward and give us a presentation.
Mayor, may I, Al?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I am going to speak on the chairperson's request.
Okay.
She is here to answer any questions if need be, so I will start.
All right.
So the Festivities Commission, when I attended the last committee meeting a couple weeks ago, they have given a balance, and I'm going to read it verbally, so get out your pens, write out down the figures. So the starting fund balance for 2014 fair was $56,785.53. The current account balance is $79,914.47. The Festivities Commission has restricted a fund balance of $30,000. This was restricted by the Commission on January 25th, 2014. They have restricted for Parks and Rec donation $15,000, which was restricted by the Commission on April 7th, 2014. So the available for projects right now is they have 2 outstanding bills from the current street fair this year, which is $8,800 that they have outstanding. So right now there's a balance of $34,914.47 minus the $8,800 that are still outstanding bills that need to be paid from this year's street fair, for a balance of money allowed for available projects of $26,114.47. So that is their financial report.
Thank you. Do I have questions from council?
I have a comment,
Okay,
not a question.
I'm sorry. Councilman.
Cindy Riviera, would you come to the podium, please? Yes, I just have a comment. I don't really have a question
Oh,
for
okay.
you. So, and I know you don't like these groups and speaking in public, and I understand that. But I think you should be recognized that 3 years ago, when the entire festivities commission quit as we got elected, and we were looking to have a street fair that everybody said that we weren't going to have, which was 3 years ago. That I just want everybody to know this, is that Cindy Scalisi Riviera was one of the first people, if not the first person, I think, that came up to me and said, Harry, I'll help whatever I can do, let me know. And I said, okay. And you are what Allen Park is about.
Thank you.
You know, Andy Hill was up here saying, you know, people helping out during the fire, but you've helped out in many other ways. And I think you should be recognized that for your leadership, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. But it couldn't be done without my commission, because they are wonderful. They're hardworking, they're always there, and believe me, this is a hard job the last month. So it's all of us together.
So I'd like everybody to give Cindy and the commission a hand, please.
Thank you.
You know, without objection, I would like to make one announcement before I go to the item 3. Given what happened on the 15th, I just thought maybe people would like to take their families and go on October 5th after the Kiwanis outing on October 4th. Open house is being provided at our Allen Park Fire Department. It'll be from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. There's door prizes, refreshments, demonstrations, fire safety information, and photo opportunities with the fire truck. So come out, talk to our firefighters, bring your families, and have a nice morning and afternoon with them. It's a nice event. The last item I have under my agenda is we have a parade permit, but it's not really a parade permit. It's actually to close part of Park Avenue between Philomene and White Street for the 26th Annual Pumpkin Patch Farmers Market on Thursday, October 31st.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Hayes. Do I have a second?
Supported.
Supported by Councilman DiGiulio. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you very much.
I think that's a Friday, Mr. Mayor, not a Thursday.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Another mistake by Mr. Mizzi, apparently.
No, I read the application, it said Thursday, I had Friday,
Yeah,
is it Friday?
It does say
It's Friday.
Thursday on the application too, yeah.
I won't blame it on Mizzi anyway.
Now, October, I couldn't get on the November, but, no. I will make that change.
It is Friday, the 31st. It is Halloween night, so.
Also, through the chair, I'd like to point out that it says amount of fee. There is not $100 on this one. This is just a street closure. It is not a parade permit. So it's a street closure.
All right.
So, wow, my dates.
We are at the attorney's third and final reading of ordinance 02204.
Good evening. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the third and final reading by title only of proposed ordinance number 02-2014.
We had a public hearing on this, and it was sent for an amendment. I don't think a public hearing is required, am I right, Mr. Clerk?
Pardon me?
Public hearing was held on this. It's not required. There was an amendment. And if I could ask the attorney just to read the amendment. I know they're highlighted for us, but people may not. Do you want me to read it?
Go ahead.
I've got the highlighted version. Only 2 cords of wood shall be allowed on the property. A cord shall be defined as a stack of wood measuring 8 feet in length, stacked 4 feet high and 4 feet wide. The wood shall not be stacked higher than 4 feet high, not extended more than 8 feet in length. Side-by stacking of the cords shall be allowed. The wood shall not be stacked to the rear of the house to the rear of the house and not on or within 6 feet of any property line unless the abutting owner and/or occupant agrees in writing. No wood shall be stacked directly on the ground. All wood shall be elevated above the ground at least 6 inches. And that was the amendment that was put in place after the public hearing. Was there any other discussion by council?
There is, Mayor, if I could.
One moment, please. Do we,
Yep.
in order to have discussion, do we have to remove it from the table?
Yes.
It was tabled?
Oh, I'm
So we-
sorry, I didn't
We would need to
remove from the
remove it?
table. My mistake. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a motion to remove from the table? Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Keenan has moved, we remove it from the table. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Cisco. All in favor, signify by aye.
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 Okay, it's from the table. I have read the changes. Is there questions by council?
There is.
Mayor Pro Tem Keenan.
First of all, I would like to apologize to the other members of the, when I sent my email out to the members of the Legal Affairs Committee and to the clerk, I didn't realize at that point we'd be voting on this tonight or putting it into action. So some of what I'm about to say, some of you have not heard, and I apologize for that. I sent an email out to Councilman Hayes and Councilman Gavarecki that are also on Legal Affairs with me, and to Mr. Mizzi, stating that I had some concerns with the language, that I thought that item 1 and item 2 somewhat contradicted each other. If you read item number 1, it says that you're allowed 2 cords of wood, and that cord is defined as 8 feet in length, stacked 4 feet high and 4 feet wide. So, in my opinion, when you're looking at the ability to stack 2 cords of wood, it would be 16 feet long, 4 feet wide, and 4 feet high. If our definition is 4 by 4 by 8, 2 cords would be 4 by 4 by 16. Then if you read the second line, the wood shall not be stacked higher than 4 feet, not extend more than 8 feet in length. And my contention is that if a homeowner, and again, I'm all about trying to make these so that a resident can look it up online and read it and understand it and not have to have an attorney tell them what it means. Item number 2, in my opinion, should read, the wood shall not be stacked higher than 4 feet and not extend more than 16 feet because of the 2 cords. I understand, I talked with Mr. Mizzi, and his interpretation is that it's giving you that ability based on the second half of the statement where it says side-by-side stacking of the cords shall be allowed. And I would agree with that if there was a comma after length, not a period. It's a period, it stops the sentence and starts a new one. I would prefer to have the sentence read, the wood shall not be stacked higher than 4 feet and not extend more than 8 feet in length, or 16 feet in length rather, to make up for the 2 cords. I think that's easily understood by the average citizen as to what they're allowed to have. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Okay, Mayor. I think now what you have to remember is number 1 is only describing what a cord is. It's stating that you're only allowed 2, and then a cord shall be defined as a stack of wood measuring 8 feet in length by 4 feet high and 4 feet wide. The second part, the wood shall not be stacked higher than 4 feet, and that will be changed to nor extended than either 8 feet in length. That's describing how pretty much 1 cord is, because it's now going into the regulations that you can't have it stacked higher than 4 feet or 8 feet in length. But it's talking about 1 cord. Then where it goes back to number 1 says 2, you can stack the cords side by side. Now, a way to get around that too, and I should have listened to my Assistant Deputy Jim Gross, if you do the math, it's 128 cubic square feet total. Now, he kept bugging me to add that to end all discussion. Jim, so if we'd like to add, somewhere in there, a total not to exceed 128 cubic feet, I'm good with that.
Again, making it more hard for the normal citizen to have to do the math.
Well, generally,
listen, Mike, I think you understand what your intent was there, but I don't think the average citizen, if I didn't understand it and I had to call you on it at my first read, it's an issue. And I think that we can either take number 2 out, or we can change it to 16. Well, I don't think we leave it the way it is.
That's your guys' option.
Right. Each side by side, so.
Right. Just through the chair, I just want to make a point, Bob. I think part of this is you would not have, this says you can only have a stack 8 feet.
Right.
You can't have a stack 16 feet. So
Well,
you could
that's-
have 8 feet, and maybe at another place you could have another stack 8 feet.
See, and that's my issue with this, and this is what
But
we
what-
discussed at Legal Affairs.
But
Most
what
people
you're
that I know
advocating.
is
but
16 feet long.
You want a 16 feet long.
That's what we talked about.
And that's not what
I
this
said to
says.
you, most people that I know, and there's still people in the city here that heat with wood, stack it right along the side of their garage. And it's 4 feet high, 4 feet wide, and 16 feet long. And the way we have it written right now would preclude them for that. And we discussed that at Legal Affairs, and we wanted them to be able to use the side of their garage, which is normally 20 to 24 feet deep,
Right.
as that place for that storage. So I definitely think, and maybe I would make a friendly amendment, that number 2, that 8 feet should become 16 feet, and that they can stack it right along the side of their garage, up off the ground like we discussed, and in a fashion that would, that every experience I've had with somebody that stores wood, that's where it is.
Okay.
Not in 2 separate parts of the yard in 4 foot by 4 foot by 8 foot squares.
We don't have a motion for the council to accept, so do we want a motion to extend to simply change the 8 feet to 16 feet? Because side by side clearly is going to mean 4 feet is side by side. 8 feet is length in the sentence before, so I think that's clearly understandable.
4 feet.
Through the chair, if I throw this in, so I could then have just one stack 4 feet, 16 feet long.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what we want. That's
Or
what we
you can have
discussed at
side
Legal
by
Affairs.
side stacking,
Or
which is,
which would be 2 cords.
right.
This, for the record, this was our ordinance previously,
Just change it to
about 5 years ago. So verbatim.
I'm all about simplicity.
I know, and I get that.
So the motion would be to take item 529072, 8 feet, and change it to 16 feet. Would that be the motion, Mr. Cannon?
Correct.
Unless we want to add the meter conversion to it. Anybody want the metric system here?
That's not what this is saying.
No, and we're,
For the record, I also did speak to the building department, and they had absolutely no issues with any type. They were good. Thank you, Mike. We have this in place. So the people who are going to be enforcing it are very, very well aware of what it is.
okay. Do I have a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. So, what I think Mayor Pro Tem Keenan has said, that you could take your 2 cords and put them end to end, so the 8 feet
But
would
you
become 16. Or you can put them side by side, so that the stacking, obviously, this does not talk about other than where you can put them. If you take the things and put 1 cord on one side of the garage, 1 at the back or on the other side, or wherever you're gonna put it.
It's either going to be, 8 by 8 or 4 by 16 if you want 2 cords. That's the bottom line. It's either side by side or long ways.
That's the most you can put together,
Correct.
and is a limiting portion of the motion. So I'll ask for a vote on the amendment. Well, yes. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
I have 1 nay to the amendment, and that is Councilwoman Gavarecki, am I right?
Correct.
So the amendment passes. I need a motion for the ordinance as amended. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Keenan. Do I have a second?
That's to authorize this 3rd reading.
Well, I thought we had it. You just read
We'll do a roll call vote after this.
yeah. But I still need a motion and second, do I not?
Yes.
I don't have a second, lady and gentlemen.
I'll second it.
Mr. Hayes is seconded, and it will be a roll call vote.
Give me 1 minute. Let me write this amendment down. Okay. This should be for the 3rd and final reading of proposed ordinance number 2002-19, Number 02-2014, an ordinance to amend Chapter 52, Article 6 to regulate the storage of firewood, coal, and other combustible materials in certain zoning districts. Shall this ordinance pass? Councilman DeGiulio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
No.
Councilman Hayes.
Yes.
Councilman Keenan.
Yes.
Mayor Mategas.
Yes?
Councilman Cisco.
Yes.
And Councilman Templin.
Yes.
The yeses have it.
Okay. At this point in our agenda, we have the 5 minutes for citizens to ask any questions or comment. Please come forward.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Frank Liberati. I'm a local business owner. I own Liberati's Italian Deli and Bakery on Allen Road. Ms. Parker isn't here. I was planning to address her. I'm not sure who ordered the food for the town hall meeting yesterday. I had prior commitments, so I was not able to attend, but it was brought to my attention that there was food there and there was catering. I said, oh, really? That's great. That's nice. I kind of assumed it came from within the city, but then somebody told me that it was a firm out of Ecorse that actually catered the food. So I was just, I was dumbfounded. I couldn't believe that it wasn't done through the city. You know, we have many businesses here that support the city, and I don't know where the thought came from to order from outside the city. I know if it was any of you or any other residents or any other concerned citizens, it wouldn't even enter their mind to get it from outside the city. So, you know, I just wanted to mention that if there's something in the future that the city manager decides to spend our city's money on, if it's possible, I think it should be spent in the city. I just wanted to point that out, and hopefully when the mayor and council takes back control of our city, that you do the same, but that has always been done, so I'm assuming you would. I just wanted to let Joyce know that would probably be a good idea to do in the future. Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Good evening. The name is Malcolm Beaton, Cleveland Street, Allen Park. In November, we will be going to the polls to elect a new governor. The past year, we have celebrated Veterans Day. You have seen the white crosses in Arlington National Cemetery. Many of them paid the ultimate sacrifice for this country. Over in France, in the invasion of Normandy, young boys, 17, 18, 19 years of age, lost their lives defending the United States of America under the Constitution, one of the greatest documents ever written. Behind me sits young men and women of Mr. Bob Lloyd's history class. Come November, what if he says to those young men and women, make sure you vote in November? One of them raises their hand and says, excuse me, Mr. Lloyd, not too long ago, my mother and dad went to the polls, elected a mayor and 6 council people. Along came Governor Snyder with the emergency financial manager law. Made it so you 7 people have no voice. The only person that has a voice never received one single vote from the people of Allen Park. What happened to our Constitution? How about all of those young men and women in all wars, including Councilman Hayes' brother, paid the ultimate sacrifice to defend that Constitution. When you go to the polls in November, remember what the Republicans have done to us, the little people, the voters. Our vote should still count. Thank you.
He did lose a little weight. Al Wojcinski, Vine Avenue, Allen Park. Okay, number one. Now that Ms. Parker is gone, could we please move the meetings back to 7 o'clock? I would really appreciate that. So would a lot of the citizens that, can make 7 but not 6. Also, I heard yesterday that the city offices are going to be moving. When will that happen? Okay. And also, I understand that the contractor, Mr. Boji, has raised his bid to renovate the AT&T building. Is this true? Also, it looks like we need to hire another part-time ordinance officer because Matt Lieb left for a better position in a better pay in another city. And one thing I always bring up, the meeting tomorrow about the Hill. Is that to finalize the agreement that Allen Park will be receiving $250,000 a year from Ford Land, from the Hill? Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. What about Mr. Boji?
He made his presentation tonight, and it'll be on the agenda tomorrow night.
Okay, and tomorrow night...
Not the Brownfield meeting, the 6 o'clock special transitioning meeting being called by Ms. Parker.
Where will that be?
Be here at 6 o'clock.
Okay, I wish it was 7. Okay, no problem. But we do need another ordinance officer because what we're paying people is just, to be very honest, cheap. And I guess we get what we pay for. Other than that, I will see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Everybody have a good night.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I think it's 5 o'clock tomorrow, according to this document I have before me.
It's 5.
It's 5 o'clock. Tomorrow's 5.
Right, it says 5. That's why I wanted to make sure.
I think the Brownfield,
Brownfield
though, is meeting
Oh,
before.
I see. There's another one afterwards.
Yeah, and I think that commission is actually going to be there. Am I correct? Yes. Because that's their meeting, and they will make a vote on that. Now, maybe it will be faster.
No, through the chair, it is a special meeting starting at 5. It's incorporated, because you guys will be voting on the Brownfield amendment or something, so it is 5.
And then following that will be another meeting.
Immediately following, as soon as one group can get out of the chairs and the other group can get in the chairs, I guess.
Okay, and again, everybody have a good night.
Good evening, Nancy Simmons on Keppen in Allen Park. I just was wondering, I'm not sure who to address this to, but I was looking at the Southgate Facebook page today, and on September the 18th, they posted an article or an announcement from Lansing that Governor Snyder had sent in a request to Obama about declaring our, I guess the 3 counties, including Wayne County, as a disaster. You guys knew about that?
Yes.
Is there any way that could be put on our Facebook, on our website so people can see that? Because people may not be aware. I know that the city is asking us to turn in information about our damages and stuff, and that's going to go to FEMA, but I had no idea that it was going to FEMA, that information. I thought it was stopping with you guys in the city, and I figured there was no way we could get any damages recovered from the city, but I was told by an email from Mr. Wilson today that the information that we're sending in goes to FEMA, and I did not know that.
Well, it does, and I'm sorry if there was that misinformation. The information as to individual losses and the city's losses have gone into FEMA as requested by FEMA and Homeland Security. And the governor did issue that September 18th in the paper asking for the president to declare the 3 counties disaster areas. Also, a delegation of 12 of the state's representatives and senators to the United States Congress has also sent a letter asking the president to so declare. So, and I think that was posted in the paper too, both items.
Well, I emailed Mr. Wilson today and got a message back from him saying that because I have not had time to submit the information because I've been dealing with the other stuff with our flood recovery, and he said to go ahead and send it to him, even though the deadline is tomorrow. He said even if it's past the deadline that I should send it to him, the information.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so the deadline is not strict with 45 days?
Well, considering they haven't dispersed any money to Katrina or Hurricane Sandy.
Well, that's encouraging.
You know, I don't know what the federal government's timelines are, but you know that those 2 very large disasters, as bad as was for our residents, the magnitude of those damages and that, and they're still, most of them are up in the area and have not been addressed by the federal government. So I don't know how they make those evaluations. Ours should be easier to evaluate. They're more defined in nature and limited. I mean, we didn't have the vast destruction of buildings and streets and everything that happened in those, but I can't tell you, and I'm just saying I sit here and watch those other disasters and say, and you remember when FEMA in 2003 came here, and I think they stayed here for 6 months, in some cases re-interviewing people about the information they had sent in about the damage they had suffered. So
well, I think
we may still see that come back, and they may still set up those and further evaluate the individual claims. I don't have any way of knowing.
It would be helpful for the city to have that on our website so that we can see that we still can do that, and just that there may be help coming, because I've talked to several people, my neighbors, and they're like, forget it, there's no point, because it's just not going to happen. They need to know that we should do this. So if it can be put on the website, that would be fantastic. I can email this to whoever, and it could just be posted or something.
Email it to me.
Okay. And I also wanted to just thank, I guess, Ms. Folks and anybody else that helped with the last time I was up here about the need for us to get a new shut-off water valve thingy on the outside of our house. And Wednesday morning before 8 o'clock, they were out there working very hard, and they did a great job. I know that they were taken, a couple of them were taken from another project, but I really appreciate, they were very fast, but they were very efficient, and they had a great spirit about them, and I just really appreciate so much the help, because we are progressing in our work. And I just wanted to give my input that the decision tomorrow night about City Hall, I'm for a new building.
Good evening, Brian Debo, Down Park. A few comments from last night's town hall meeting. I think it was a tremendous opportunity that was missed. What was on the website, it advertised 2 items: final update from the emergency manager and a review of the proposed strategic plan for the city of Allen Park. Now, the final update for the emergency manager, the people I talked to, we expected to hear the transition plan at the town hall meeting. Not that there's going to be a meeting tomorrow, it's going to be combined with other issues. I think that's what we came there to hear. We want to hear how the review team fits in this situation. What's your authority? If the review team only meets once every 30 days. Are you guys limited to no decisions can be made? You have to have a meeting here. Then you're going to have to wait for the review team. I mean, you could have a lag of 6 weeks of time before any decision's made. Also, it could address the city administrator. She's still going to be here? Are you going to have, because she was brought in here by the EM, are you going to have a choice to remove her and hire somebody else? Also, she could have sat and explained to the citizens why the judgment for Ford landed on our taxes, when she even said last night we had a surplus of $2.3 million, and per our cash flow we had the money. Why did the city not pay that bill, and why were we forced to have new taxes that we couldn't vote on? It was just appeared on our tax report. She could have came to the people and explained that situation. And she could also explain to the people why on the special millage, she went around. Now, she was here for over 9 months before that special election. 9 months she served here, and she was immersed in our finances for 9 months. And then she came up with a 10% rollback number. She came up with that. Nobody else came up with that. She came up with that. I'm referring to the revenue. If the revenue was over the expenses by 10%, we could have the rollback of the millage, which we hit. We made those numbers in the very first fiscal year, and the next day she changed the rules. She could have explained why she changed the rules. I don't know what's more disturbing. When she gave an explanation at the last meeting, when she was, the only time she spoke publicly about this in response to myself, she said that, well, we needed best practices. Well, I don't know what's more disturbing, that she found out about this new knowledge of best practices after the millage, or she didn't know about the best practices before the millage. I mean, either way, it's pretty disappointing. Now, she could have explained to the people why she changed the rules. And that before the millage, she had a town hall meeting. She had council meetings. She spoke of this over and over again. Many of you spoke of this over and over again. And yet we have a town hall meeting yesterday, and she couldn't talk to the people about it. She had buried that information in a report, and she wasn't going to communicate to that people. The other part of last night's meeting was the review of the proposed strategic plan. Now, I attended that meeting to hear that. Many people wanted to hear what the strategic plan for the city is. What we heard was a process. We didn't hear no strategic plan. And it was said last night that you could go on the city website and see the strategic plan. Well, I went there today, there wasn't none. I called up City Hall and I asked for help to try to find out where it was. All we have is pie charts. There's no strategic plan on the website. And it was also said that you guys agreed to it. I challenge anybody here, please, tell us what the strategic plan is. Articulate it, please. City Administrator, through the chair of the City Administrator, can you articulate what the strategic plan was? Can you? You're not going to answer. Okay. I'm not alone in this. Somebody at the end of the meeting yelled out how they were disappointed and tell us what the plan is. And the EM's response was, well, come see me privately after the meeting. I don't understand. What is the strategic plan for Allen Park? A lot of people put effort into that. I respect the effort that people put in and the time they put in. But what is it? Does anybody know what the strategic plan is? It's not written down any place. There's no action items. There's no implementation. There's nothing. There's this process for what went through, but that isn't the strategic plan. There's a difference between an idea and a goal and an actual plan. Nobody's going to answer. Nobody can respond because I don't think one exists. That's what I meant by there was a missed opportunity last night. When you have a town hall meeting, you should be allowed to have citizens' participation, and you should meet what your goals are on the agenda. Thank you for listening.
Mr. Debo, before you leave, just a point of clarification. We did not vote on a strategic plan up here. I heard that comment last night also. Our vote, and I don't know the exact wording of it, was to allow that committee to continue to look for ways to implement their plan, ways like how to fund things, how to reach out. The vote that they brought behind, the information they brought to the council to vote on was to give the specific committees, to break up into smaller committees and let them look at education and different avenues and come up with funding. So just to be clear with you, this council, to my knowledge, never voted on any strategic plan.
I didn't think so, but I was just repeating what was said last night.
I agree. I heard that too. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
I want to thank Brian. I'm Marcy DiGiulio Galka. I'm kind of sad today, so I know I usually play with you, Mayor, because you live across the street from me, but I don't want to play today. I want to thank the Allen Park Fire Department for what they did at the Paluch Senior Housing. I know a lot of those people there, and I've been getting phone calls, and they were scared. And I guess I have to say this. It's speak now or forever hold your peace for me. I had to write it down. Allen Park had a tragedy 2 weeks ago at the Paluch Senior House. The writing has been on the wall, but no one wanted to see it. Since this executive director has taken over, by the way, he is paid approximately $90,000 a year in salary and benefits to watch over a 61-unit apartment building. His friend, who he hired to be the secretary, stole rent checks for months from the senior housing. He had 61 checks to watch over per month. Same amount of money going into, I'm making a point. 61 checks a month going into a bank account. And he couldn't do that job. But he did come here to this council, just like he did today, and he made a presentation at that time. He made a presentation on what a great job he did, how much money they had, and you all clapped. Y'all clapped while all that was going on. The executive director at the Paluch House, but at that time, I just want to say, at least no one died. At least no one died from those rent checks being stolen. The executive director let the insurance on the building lapse just a little while ago. He didn't pay the insurance. One of the senior residents were injured on the property and sued. I know Mrs. Folks is on that commission. I hear that case is about to be settled, out of pocket. And you might ask, out of whose pocket? Out of the taxpayer's pocket. That's who it's coming out of. Again, the executive director came to this council and made a presentation to give us a check for the pilot, which is payment in lieu of taxes, because they don't pay taxes on that building. We get a stipend from it every year. And again, the council clapped. But even that mistake, even though that senior lady was hurt, at least no one died. This time a fire broke out. When I was on the Housing Commission, we had fire drills with the residents. They couldn't hear those alarms. Even when they knew the time that the fire drill was going to happen, and so many people would knock on so many people's door, and they would either go to the stairwell to be rescued or stay in their apartment if they couldn't be moved. Half of them didn't come down. They couldn't hear it. And the executive director had his maintenance man install some new fire equipment. It wasn't installed by a company. The fire chief, when we were doing those fire drills, he was present at that time. I know the residents have called me, and there was pandemonium there. They didn't know what to do. Because in the last few years, there hasn't been any more fire drills. We've got seniors in there that didn't know what to do and how to get out. The fire doors that I know the chief said that they went above and beyond to get in the main lobby. Some of them said they weren't open or closed. I'm getting so many phone calls and pleading from them. I guess my time's up, but I wanted to say we weren't as lucky this time, because this time somebody did die. Thanks.
I see no other citizens coming forward, so I will come to the council for their final comments, and I start tonight.
Ray McGusson, Quant, citizen of Allen Park. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Just got a couple questions. Is there a plan right now to go through our city and pick all those dead branches that are laying all over the place? They're in our parking lots and they're on our streets. Right down from my house, after that storm, I went out there with my neighbors and we helped cut the tree down, the branch that was down, to move it out of our street. It's still there. It's approximately a 4-foot diameter, about a 5-foot diameter, 5-inch diameter tree, approximately 20 feet long. It's still in the street. I gave city departments here that address, and it's still there. I'd just like to know if there's a plan to go around and pick this up. Or do you expect the residents to go ahead and cut all these limbs up, put them in little piles, in order for one little stinking branch that's there to be picked up by our trash collectors? Because they're not picking them up. I don't care how big or how small. Just hang on for 1 minute. 9840 Quant is where that branch is. It's still in the street. It's not small. I am not going over there to cut it up, to put it into a bag or a trash container, which I had to in order for the trash to be picked up at the historical house. If we are supposed to do something or we're not doing it right, we need to be told. Down Park, in those parking lots there, all along the concrete wall, there are branches there. There might be some that neighbors just put there. I just like to know if there's going to be some way of us to go ahead and get them picked up. It's making our city look pretty crappy. I brought this up to our city administrator at the last meeting. I was told there's a lot of things happening, Mr. McGusson, you don't know it. Yes, I do. Mr. Mayor, on item 1 under the attorney, it said roll call. It doesn't say action. It doesn't even say roll call. Action. It just says roll call. It doesn't say roll call vote. You guys voted. Just a couple of things. Are you guys ready to take over once our city manager leaves? You ready? Are we going to go ahead and revert to our city charter once our city manager leaves? And we can run our city by our city charter. Just a couple questions you can answer or whatever.
We can't. There's a review team and a series of 2 budgets for the 14-15 year and the 15-16 year, and those budgets were approved by the state, as I understand, for us to make changes in excess of $5,000, the review team is going to have to give us permission.
Permission to do what, Mr. Mayor?
To change our budgets.
I didn't ask about the budget.
Well, I'm just saying, you said to take over, but one of the things that we have is financial responsibility, and that financial responsibility deals with operations and services that the citizens receive. And so they are a hand in glove.
Okay.
situation.
Can you go ahead at the next meeting, please bring on a resolution that we go ahead and have old business put onto the agenda? Something that you all asked for, brought it up. One more thing is very simple. We got meetings. It would be nice to have citizen comments and, answers too. Not just citizen comments after a special meeting. Have a great day. Thank you very much.
My name is Robert Turner. Last night, evidently, the citizen could not ask questions, and I'm going to assume tomorrow night it would be the same thing. I go to a lot of commission meetings, I go to council meetings, and about the time I think I know something, I don't know anything. I was told by a council person that the citizens are in a bubble. I think we are. I just hope that you guys are not in that bubble. For example, have you guys seen the latest budget? I'm on the advisory committee, the subcommittee. I asked, are we a working group? Yes, but I have not seen the budget. And I don't know if you guys have seen the budget or not. There's been comments. There's a lot of things going on I don't know about. And I'm going to ask the question again. Are you guys ready? I mean, for example, are you financially able to run the city? If you haven't seen the budget, you're not ready. So I hope you the best of luck. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Veronica Frazier on Cleveland, and I'm also representing Mrs. Brennan that couldn't come tonight. I'm really here to try to understand, is our charter not in place any longer because we have an emergency manager?
Yes.
It's not in place.
The emergency manager and the state do not have to adhere to the provisions of the charter to govern the city as to its finances or as to its operations.
Okay. Then she's in charge of everything.
Yes.
From enforcing ordinances to everything.
Correct.
Why doesn't she want to enforce ordinances?
Well, I don't know that she doesn't. You heard tonight that Mr. Lieb, who we hired to help increase our ordinance enforcement, he had applied for another job that was full-time, and they called him and said that the position was now available, and he accepted that position. And I can understand that. It's a full-time position.
Oh, and I certainly can understand it too.
Would pay him substantially.
But I don't understand, after the last meeting, when I asked what I could do for our situation in our neighborhood, I was told to fill out a form, and I did fill out a form, and I haven't heard anything about what steps might be taken. And I hear you passing a new ordinance about wood off the ground, and I've been looking at a fallen tree for 2.5 years, plus all the wood that was cut to get into the garage, plus all the wood that's laying behind the garage and on the lot between Mrs. Brennan and this home. And we don't know what to do, but we're tired of dealing with it, looking at it. What do? We filled out the form.
You made a complaint? And I understood that her family did come out there and they did a substantial cleanup. I don't know any more than that, and I've not heard the report.
I live next door. It was not close to substantial.
Well, okay. You're telling us something that is different than what we've been told.
And I even double-checked before I came tonight, thinking I wanted to make sure I had the right picture of this property. And I would say I have been complaining about the fence since 2008. This home was built in 1929, and back then, it was a wood post with some very wide wire between each wood post. Well, these wood posts, after 70 years, you can imagine, they're like this. And they've taken the fence right with them. And the bare wire that's all rusty is coming up out of the ground. And I try to pull weeds and whatnot. I don't want to get cut by a rusty fence. I have an animal that runs around my yard. I don't know what to do. Mr. Boomer last year said he would take care of it, that it was in his hands, and I'm looking at this fence, boom, that's like this, and getting dangerous, more dangerous, because the exposed wires right out of the ground. So I hope someone can do something. You said it's not a council matter. What do we do now? We filled out the form.
Through the chair, I do know there were several tickets written. There was, I think, 6 tickets written to that lady. And the way it works is we can't do much more until, basically, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Attorney, it's up to the judge's hands now, correct? With 6 tickets?
Well, it will come to court, and we will use the court system to get it cleaned up. But it is a process. But thank you for keeping an eye on that there's a ticket.
I lack faith in the process.
Wait, I'm sorry?
I say I lack faith in the process.
Ma'am, I understand that, but...
If you could see it and understand that it's been like this for decades.
Okay. Well, we will use the court system. It's going to be here in the district court. And in fact, we'll keep an eye on it. I will talk to the prosecutor.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
If they fill out a complaint form, isn't there a provision that they need to be called back, or isn't there a follow-up in a certain time limit?
Mr. Mizzi told me that they don't have to follow up. They don't have to let me know.
Okay.
But I was under the impression that I would know something within 5 days, and I'd know nothing.
My mistake also.
Charles Blunt, Champaign. In a time range, there's on Park Avenue, right next to where the farmer's market is every Friday, there's a giant pothole and with 2 cones. Is there a time range where that's going to get fixed? I know I should be going to like the road department or to talk to them about that, but if you guys can inform them. And then I do agree with like Ray's suggestion that there should be a old news or a recap section on the top of the agenda with bullet points so that when I ask a question like the pothole, I'll get an answer at the next council meeting. I know there was a article about the website being updated or like get a brand new one. Do we know a time range when that's getting 100% like remodeled and stuff like that? I do agree that we should, like I said at the last meeting, that the meeting should be at 7 o'clock. I do have an agenda from 2006 that their meetings were at 7:30, and if not 6:30, so that people who have 9 to 5 jobs can get home, get ready, so that they can voice their opinion here at the council meetings. I do glad to see improvement in the city, such as the park on Park Avenue that is getting remodeled and for disability kids as well as if you go down Oakwood, right off the hill, they redid the whole street. And as well as the farmer's market this past Friday was a great turnout with the Touch a Truck event. It was wonderful. Have a great day.
Walter Danik, Bel Air Avenue. It's for you, Mr. Hayes. I would like to discuss the town hall meeting yesterday. I'd like to ask a question. Was it taped? Will it be on cable?
Not that I know of.
Okay, I have a councilman nodding yes, and the mayor saying not that I know of. I was there. There were 2 cameras filming it that I saw.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It is, because they used the same person they'd used before. I misspoke myself.
Okay, so we should be...
It was that group from, the gentleman from Channel 2 that did it, because I thought, I couldn't understand why Channel 2 was there last night.
Will we be seeing it on Comcast or WOW on the government access channel?
I would assume so.
Okay, good. Mr. Devo had made some comments about last night's meeting. I purposely went to the meeting because I wanted to hear the strategic plan, and it was a pep rally for Allen Park and Joyce Parker, all the accomplishments she made in regards to saving us money with firefighters and police and city employees taking pay cuts. Let's see, that it was a pep rally for her departure. When is she leaving? Do you know the date?
We don't. She was in Lansing today with the governor, so we assume the transition meeting, we will hear something tomorrow night. But
Okay. Is the review team, have they been appointed?
I don't think anybody on the council has heard who the appointments are, if that has been made by the governor.
Okay. I purposely asked Mrs. Folks last night who was in charge of the, or I asked Miss Parker who was in charge of the food. She said, I don't know. So I asked Mrs. Folks, and she said, okay, what do you want to yell at me about? I said, who's in charge of the food? She said, well, I am. I said, now, hopefully you used an Allen Park business to cater this event, right? She said, no, I used the company from eCourse. Why? How was the food? I said, the food was great. Too bad it didn't come from an Allen Park business. Mr. Liberati, I believe you left, but thank you for bringing that up. I guess that's all I have. Oh, no, there's one more thing, since I have some time. I attended the work session. I complimented Mr. Bogie for his presentation, and then I mistakenly, instead of making a comment in my regards, I kind of put it as a question, and I used the word guarantee. And when I talked to him after the meeting as he was leaving, which I thought he was going to stay here, he said, I don't understand what you meant. I said, you know, like I built a house and the builder gave me a guarantee. He said, oh, you mean a warranty? I said, yes. But when I tried to get that across in the work session, Mr. Mayor, you cut me off. So I just wanted to let you know I didn't appreciate being cut off by you, because I was trying to follow the rule. So I hope in your decision, which is supposed to be tomorrow? No? Is there a meeting tomorrow about the city hall again?
I think it's on her agenda.
Okay. Does she plan on attending?
No, I don't.
Does she plan on attending that meeting tomorrow? Because she's not here again today for our council meetings.
That's right.
And I heard at the work session that she was in Lansing along with Mr. Mizzy, but he's here. Well, that's right. Thank you very much.
I see no one coming forward, and so I'll start with our council comments tonight, and it will be Councilman DiGiulio who is first.
Thank you, Mayor. On Monday, September 15th, at the fire there at the Palouse, the mayor and I were at the library for at least 2 hours or more looking after our displaced seniors. While I was there, Mr. Joe Adjemi, that owns Adjemi and Sons Market over there in Champaign and Rosedale, he called me and asked if anything was needed for the seniors and anything he could do. And I said, sure, we could use some bottled water, Joe. I said, that'd really be nice. Well, he said, give me about 15 minutes. So when I arrived at his store, not only did he have cases of bottled water for me to bring back, but he also was baking pepperoni rolls. I had to wait another 10 minutes till they were all baked, and he had 2 big shopping bags full of pepperoni rolls that he was sending there. I did get involved with a cat out there at the library. A lady was really concerned that her cat would not have a place to stay because she was going to have to go to a motel. So I was petting the cat, and she made me promise that I'd take the cat home with me if she couldn't keep it there. And I said, yes. I said, I promise you. I said, I gave her my card with my phone number at home. And I said, you call me. I'll come get your cat, or I'll bring a baby blanket and wrap the cat up and bring it to your room. I'll tell the people there at the desk that that's my grandbaby I'm bringing over there. So anyway, she didn't call me, so obviously the cat was allowed to stay in her room with her. Now, the following week at the town hall meeting, I asked the delivery man who was bringing all this stuff here, where did it come from? And he said it came from a company in Ecorse. And I questioned it a little bit, and I actually verified it with Mrs. Folks tonight that it was a company from Ecorse. And, you know, it had 2 fruit bowls, you know, meatballs, chicken, desserts, and yet they all came from Ecorse. So it bothers me. We accept the free generosity of Adjemi's Market, but we move from our city going forward to going backwards when we're going into Ecorse to get stuff, to get things. I mean, we have so many good businesses here. We have Primos, we have Liberati's, we have Dream Dinners. I mean, they would have been glad to cater stuff for us. We have the sweet shop there on Park Avenue, Alex Kosisco's. We have the one next to the show, the other sweet shop. I mean, all these desserts and things could have been on and on. Well, it's bothersome to me. We have struggling businesses in Allen Park, and there's nobody that's not struggling to some extent. No matter how good your business is, you're still struggling. Times have brought that on us. And it is very bothersome to me that we went out of the city to get this stuff done. So I hope in the future that we will do in our city of Allen Park. We will not go out of the city. We have everything we need here. We have a little, it's like a village of whatever we need, we can get it. So, all right, thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Gavarrecki.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. Students from the high school have already left, so it's nice to see them back. To clarify, the meeting starting at 6 o'clock versus 7 o'clock was not done by Ms. Parker. That was done back on the administration when I was on council the last time. But we moved them from 7 o'clock to 6 o'clock by a council resolution. So, well,
No.
I kind of like 6 o'clock myself, but I understand it's hard for me too, but it keeps the day flowing. So, anyway, I just wanted to let you know that it was not Ms. Parker that changed that. I truly want to recognize the Allen Park Kiwanis for their 75 years of service. Also to thank the Allen Park Festivities Commission again for allowing me to be part of that group and read their financials this evening. And to the fire chief and to the housing director, thank you for all that you did and all you did for the citizens and your residents there. So thank you, and I don't think we need to be up here saying what could have been done. You know, learn from making things a little bit better. So they had a real fire drill. I'm sorry for the loss of life that did occur, but it could have been worse, and it wasn't. So thank you again for all you did. Good night.
Councilman Hayes?
Thank you. Those of you who follow these proceedings or were here at the last meeting heard the mayor say the following, and I quote right from the tape, "Why don't you read both your emails?" And he went on to say, "I think your emails say much more than the one sentence you read." So I thought I'd read both my emails and put an end to this tomfoolery about what I said and didn't say. The first email that caused me to ask the mayor for a retraction said this: "Where did you find the authority to independently make these recommendations? I may have missed this in reading the act several times, question mark. It is indicated this will be on the agenda, and I will be asking for the basis of your authority as a weak mayor if this indeed comes up. Please advise. Thank you, Dennis." The second email, which was prompted by his statement that I said he had no right to make the decision, which you know I didn't say, the second email said this: "Please point out within this email where I indicated that you did not have the right to make these appointments." That would have been a declarative statement and sentence. Mine was a question. My question was directed to you because I was unaware of how you came to make these appointments, as I could find nothing in the act that mentions this. You chose to frame your answer at the meeting in a manner that tended to reflect negatively on me and injure my reputation. I quote you, "I did not respond to Mr. Hayes' email because he didn't ask me either how I came to do it or why I came to do it. He simply stated I did not have the right to do it. Please review my email and see if you can point out my use of the words used in your statement, did not have the right to do it. Hint, they are not included. Your use of these words has cast me in a false light before the public. I have included my email below, and I urge you also to review the meeting tape to verify that you either purposely or mistakenly completely misrepresented my words. I request that you request your statement at the next meeting and apologize for your significant damning comment directed at my motives, which were reasonable and not laden with the animosity you seem to project in them by ascribing words to me that I never used. Dennis Hayes." And then finally, just to put a final point on this, I had given every opportunity to the mayor. I wrote him yet again after that. Please produce the email you referred to this evening. I have reviewed my copy and you again misrepresented my words. I offer you the opportunity to apologize and correct your statement once more. Otherwise, I will simply read the second email at the next meeting and prove my point. So I hope my point is proved. On another matter, let me suggest that I find it astounding, totally unforgivable, that our city administrator, so-called at least, would go and
I'm not going to stand for that.
you don't have to stand for anything.
And so I'm asking for intervention when he starts to personally attack me.
In your
That's
official
out of
capacity,
order.
no.
Out of order.
Read the rules of decorum. If I talk about your official capacity, that's specifically permitted. So I'd ask you to please refrain from commenting. It's inexcusable for somebody who works for this city in the capacity of an administrator, capable or otherwise, to do something as egregious as to go to a company outside of our city to purchase goods or services. And I think the citizens agree, and I think, frankly, it's time for you to, hopefully when Ms. Parker leaves, you will join her and leave with her. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Keenan.
Well, I too would like to say that I'm happy to see the students back out at the council meetings. Hopefully, as Ms. Parker transitions out, they'll begin to be able to see our form of government in action again. Sorry. Just a few things I want to touch on. I too am very disappointed by the meeting last night. I did not feel like it was what it was represented to be. I thought it was a complete waste of my time. As many of you know, we had a function at a business that I own here locally last night that I wasn't able to attend, to go to a meeting that was the same thing that I've heard over and over and over again. And while I don't question it, I thought it was a complete waste of my time. And you know, again, I don't do it as a pat on the back, but I mean, just to use this week for an example, I've got 4 meetings this week that I'm going to attend. To go to meetings that are totally a waste of my time is not beneficial to me or anybody else. To move on to the lack of for those of you that were at the meeting earlier, very disappointed. This Boji presentation was sent out over a week ago, as my understanding is. And I received it last night at 5:15 as I was dressing to go to the town hall meeting last night. I work full-time. So on my lunch break today, I tried to do the best I could in the short time that I had to go through the presentation and be able to have some intelligent questions for tonight's meeting. But that's very hard to do in a half an hour. And when you have a proposal, I asked for it twice in phone calls to Ms. Parker. She told me that she didn't want to distribute it. We were going to have this meeting, but yet that it comes out the night before the meeting. So either you don't distribute it or you distribute it with time to let me have it and review it. I've never seen a situation like this. Tonight, I'm thankful. I don't remember which citizen it was that came up tonight, but thanks for informing me that the ordinance officer left. It's the first I've heard of it. Didn't know it when the building official was removed last time. Found out about the council meetings. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me that I used to joke, and I hope you won't mind, but I used to say that I get my best information from Ted Shiraki. I haven't gotten a lot of information from Ted lately, but I'm thankful that there's other residents that are stepping up to the plate and letting me know what's going on in a city that I'm elected to help guide. It's mind-boggling to me, the fact that the information. I think it was Mr. Turner that got up and said, are we prepared to take over? Who knows? I mean, I don't know what's out there. Maybe it was Mr. McGusson, whoever it was. We get you guys find out more information than we do. The committee that Mr. Turner spoke about, I think, has more information than we do. So it's probably going to be a tough transition. It really is. It's probably going to be difficult for us to get up to speed as to what's been going on because we've got very limited information. On a final note, I just want to say tonight with the presentation, I had a citizen come up to me in between the 2 meetings and say, well, you know, I don't remember, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but basically that Boji proved me wrong or whatever. Let me just say again, I misspoke last week. I said before, I put a statement up on Facebook, which I don't usually like to do. Everything tends to turn to negativity, but sometimes I make mistakes, and I have to remember that you folks aren't privy to every discussion that we have. Closed session meetings, what have you. Sometimes when we talk up here, we just act like we assume that everybody knows what we're talking about. And I think that's what I did at the last meeting. I don't think that, I think some of my statements were taken out of context because of the way I stated them, not at anybody else's fault. We had a lot of information going into it. We've been dealing with this 4,000 Allen Road property for a long period of time now. We had to input into what the discussion was, what the attorneys wrote in the agreement. I had just seen the final document that night. And it did bother me that we had to vote on it, but it didn't bother me enough that I didn't want to continue the process out and make sure that the property was off the market while we did our due diligence. I have no horse in the race with this property at 4,000 Allen Road. Trust me, I've said all along, if red flags come up, I'm ready to move on from it. My goal was to try to get us into a city hall that we could pay cash, well, not pay cash because we already have the bonds. We still have to pay them back. But to use the money that we already have in hand to move City Hall and not have to go further into debt or take the down payment from the studio property. That was always my goal. When we were presented the numbers that I have from the state of Michigan, not my numbers that I made up, that said they thought we could get in the Allen Road property for about $3 million, which is right around what we have in hand. That made it very appealing to me. If that property is going to be $4 million or $4.9 million or whatever, then we move on. I have no horse in the race for that property. But I will tell you that I don't think that the Boji presentation that we got tonight was reflective of what we asked for. I don't know who dealt with them, but what we talked about in every closed session meeting and every meeting I had was not a complete gut of that building and renovation. So I think somewhere in between is the reality. What we were presented on the 4,000 Allen Road and the property behind is not right on either end. There's something in the middle there. Thank you.
Councilman Cisco.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't even know what to say anymore. You know, the Paluch home, and this in regards to the fire department, you know, a street next to me, there was a house fire many years ago, and I lost a friend in that fire. And earlier in the year, my next door neighbor, house caught on fire, and unfortunately nobody lost their life. And I was out there not as early as 5 a.m. at the Paluch home, but I watched our fire department, and I just, you know, one of the things that we can be proud of is that we do have a great fire department. We do have a great police department. Those are things we've always hung our hat on for a long time. And those are things to be thankful for. It's a tragedy that somebody lost their life, and I don't know what to say. I mean, we've had people come up here and talk about some things, and I don't think we should use a tragedy to, you know, turn around and question something at this point. And as far as moving our council time, you know, there's the other point of view that people don't like coming late. There's people that get out of work early that don't come in late. I mean, so it's one or the other. I don't have a problem whatever time we meet, actually. But others on the panel here work. And I also wanted to talk about a website that people should look into, and it's called kidsnotceos.com. And that's kids, K-I-D-S, not, N-O-T, CEOs, C-E-O-S.com. And what it does, it's a site that you can go to, and it will list every school district in the state of Michigan, and it will show you how much each school district lost in the last 4 years for funding. It'll list year by year and it'll give you an accumulative total. So that's kidsnotceo.com. I was hoping that the students would be here to see that and check it out, but they've already left. But I think it's very informative to look to see what's been taken away from our education system in the last 4 years. So that's kidsnotceos.com. And I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Councilman Templin.
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight and your comments. A couple things. The website is being worked on. There's going to be a meeting tomorrow with the committee that does the website, that's developing the website, and hopefully it's going to be soon. I'll know more tomorrow. It's getting close. They're starting to populate the new website now, getting in all the information, and it just needs to be tweaked now, and hopefully in the next month it'll happen. I'll let you know more. I also like to recognize Kiwanis and the Festivities Committee. They all do great work here in the community, and it's nice to have organizations that like to work hard and have been here for a long time. Fire department did a great job, as does police department with the Paluch Center. I know I'd like to personally thank the staff at the Paluch Center. I dealt with them for a few days, and they went above and beyond to help out the families and the residents there at the center. And it's a real tragedy that could have been a lot worse. And because of all the hard work and people that were evacuating the seniors, it worked out well. And the next thing, the tree limbs, I happened to talk to our DPS director the other day, and I specifically asked him about the tree limbs because it's something that I noticed driving around town that they're laying about. And what he told me is that if the tree limbs came from a city tree, let them know, they'll come by and take them out. If they come from somebody's backyard, they have to be bundled up into 4-foot sections like anything else, and the trash pickup will get it out. And if there's so much there that they want it sooner or done differently, give them a call. They'll be more than happy to come out and look at the mess and give you a price. And he said that it's nominal. It's $40 to $50 to, in most cases, pick up the limbs that are in front of the house that people can't get rid of any other way. With that, I wish everybody a good night. Oh, don't forget, come to the transition meeting tomorrow. Hopefully there'll be some good information.
Treasurer Armstrong.
I just want to remind everyone that tax bills were due last month, and I sent out second notices to any delinquent or unpaid tax bill. So if you have received one, please feel free to give us a call. We are taking partial payments if you're having difficulty paying it. If you've gotten one and your mortgage company should have received it instead of you, give me a call, and we'll make sure that we contact the mortgage company. And with that, thank you for coming and have a good night.
Clerk Mizzy.
I'd like to begin thanking everybody for coming up with their comments and voicing them. It is important. I don't want this to sound wrong, but it's very reassuring when at tonight's meeting, one of our main items that were brought up as comments was the town hall meeting and the food with it. Okay, now that's not a small item by any means, but literally less than 2 years ago, we were talking about losing our full-time fire department and our full-time police department. So when I took a step back and started evaluating, are we really doing better? When you had cutting police and fire less than 2 years ago at this council meeting, and now we're at a town hall meeting that none of us have any control or use over, it assures me we are getting better. It's not saying what people brought up, like the Cleveland House, that's big, but I'm just saying, again, I remember 2 years ago, less than cutting police and fire, and now town hall. It's reassuring to know something is getting better. I do agree that the food should have came from Allen Park. Although I want to leave this into people's head is, if we would have just picked one restaurant, would you have had the 5 others coming up here saying, why didn't you pick me? So it sounds good right away, but when you really look at it, because that's actually happened quite a few times, the city's held events and used one particular caterer, and then several others came in and said why they get it. So it just proves you really, there's some items you just can't win on. But again, I'd like to thank everybody for their comments. It's very reassuring. And I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. God bless you and good night.
City Administrator, folks.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. First of all, I want to just give you a little bit of feedback about 17215 Philomene. Neighbors and other folks going up and down the street may have seen Balfour there starting cleanup. As a matter of fact, today they did another fumigation, spraying outside. Tomorrow, actually, within the next 48 hours, cleanup inside is due to start. So I wanted to give you that feedback. I thank the woman who came up to talk about Cleveland Street, because the information that we received is that in fact it had been cleaned up. Yes, there were 6 tickets written, and that prompted the family to come over and start doing the cleanup. But we'll look into that with the information that she provided. I also want to speak to the new ordinance officer. Yes, we got him trained, and at the very end of last week, he indicated that a position that he had applied for with a government agency, I think like in March or April, which he had almost forgotten about, gave him a call. And that was somewhere around Thursday, and they said, you start Monday if you accept this job. So we just found out. So we will be looking to fill that part-time position. I'm grateful for Mr. Templin to provide you with the website update. That does continue, and they are, I believe, starting to populate. We had a legal issue that we were able to put to rest, and so now we're able to move forward on all of that. I, too, want to express such gratitude for the actions of not only our fire department, but our fire department that took the lead in responding to one of the most serious tragedies this community has experienced probably in decades. And with the assistance of the executive director, you're never prepared for an emergency, but as smoothly as this went, we really are so exceptionally grateful to everyone who responded so quickly. You saw with Chief LaFont how emotional this was. When you're looking at, and what he said to me in private, is rarely do you find yourself in a situation where 20 to 30 people have to be removed from a burning building from second floor units. And it went as smooth as we could have hoped for. So again, I'm grateful for their expertise and how well everyone worked together. When we're talking about Peluche, there were some misstatements tonight, and probably many of you caught those. But you may recall that when there was a situation with an employee over at Peluche, within hours, it was reported to the police, a prosecution occurred, and restitution is taking place as we speak. And so I wanted to make sure that we recognize that that is the factual scenario that governs that. I also want to add my congratulations to the Allen Park Kiwanis Club, celebrating their 75 years in service to a very grateful community. It is absolutely astounding and wonderful that they should choose to spend that bequest of $190,000 to improve the parks, for which all of us, including our kids, will get enjoyment for decades to come. So we're very grateful for that as well. And with that, I will thank you all for coming and say good night.
I want to thank everyone for coming tonight and say a little bit about the Peluche fire. The chief and the director did speak about all the people that contributed. One of the things that came by 10 o'clock on that morning of the 15th was the housing director from Dearborn contacted our director and said, if any of your residents need housing, we have facilities here, senior facilities, that we can make available and work out with you on a temporary basis. And we probably will be using a few of those for some of the residents whose buildings had such extensive, or apartments had such extensive damage that it will take some time for them to come in. And the advantage there is they'll be in a unit where there are seniors, where their services would be similar to what they could receive at our facility, and they will have people who will be able to look in on them. And I feel very good about that and was very kind. The Mayor Riley had called me probably within 20 minutes of Mr. Bailey calling the director and making that offer to me, and which I communicated to our director, and he said they'd already been contacted. So it was an amazing situation, but I think people don't realize was the courage of the residents themselves. As you hear the stories, and as those of us who were there and talking to them afterwards, I mean, I can't imagine me remaining in my apartment on that second floor. Somebody says, well, you have a 2-hour rated fire door, and then you're waiting for that ladder truck to come. or you have to drop out and another citizen, another resident who's 65 years old is going to catch you. That happened too. So it was amazing courage and bravery these residents showed. The other thing, strategic plan. I think where we are, and it is a process, the strategic plan, the advisory committee sent out, and we assigned things that they had thought that the citizens, and they'd organized them, and we sent them to our commissions and authorities to look at them and see how those items might fit in with their mission statement. That will come back, that will be looked at, then the mayor and council will have to make decisions about implementation, because they may not fit the mission statements of the existing commissions, and we'll have to look and see if we want to take that forward and create other commissions to specifically look at those ideas. So I think that the plan is a process that's it's in a place where it's being reviewed, and then the next two steps where the ad hoc committee will review it, that will come back to us, and then the council will have to make the decisions about do they want to proceed forward with any or all of it. And I think that will happen. So with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn our meeting tonight. Moved by Councilman Hayes, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Keenan. All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned at 8:15.